should let me love you forever, forever. I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day,
Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of the Melanated Way. You guys asked and we answered. We want to talk about all things Oscar 2022. Me, myself, and I am exhausted from the weekend. And I'll just tell you, y'all, I knew I was out of shape from the pandemic, but like being in heels Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and thinking that I was like at the gym for 3 weeks straight because my calves are burning on fire just all makes all the sense to me. I'm going to need to get myself together immediately, if not sooner, if I'm trying to have a hot girl summer, because I'm telling you right now, that's not happening. But that being said, I have a special guest. She is New Day. She's a producer. She's a writer, she's a singer, she's all things extraordinaire. And I'm having her join me so we can talk about the Chris Rock, Will Smith 2022 Oscar slap. Well, hello, she's New Day. Welcome to our show.
Darling. Welcome, darling. Oh my God. So I heard your comment about the hot girl summer. And can I just tell you that I'm having a not girl summer, a not your girl summer, because, being divorced and everything, I am starting over anew. So I'm having a hashtag not your girl summer.
Girl, can I get down that route where I can be like, ooh, I'm having a not girl summer hashtag?
Well, because I'm looking for someone like Will to come on stage and slap some sense into some of these guys.
Facts. Listen, Drake, where are you? I've been waiting. It's been a little too long. I'm getting up there in age and I'm trying to have a baby and a family immediately, if not sooner.
I love it. Girl, Oscar's too real this year, baby.
Facts. Hashtag too real. Let's talk about the show. So before we get started, guys, we are pre-recorded. So definitely make sure that if you're watching the replay, you comment below. And you'll see on the screen where you can support the show. The support makes all the difference. All right. So we see right here Will Smith in the reaction video / screenshot. So he's already slapped Chris. And she's New Day. Let's put the backstory behind this. So the backstory is Oscars 2022. Will's up for Best Actor in a movie for portraying the father of Venus and Serena Williams.
Right.
And here's the thing, what I think a lot of people don't know is that although Chris Rock is a famous comedian, he didn't write this joke. The writers of the Oscars wrote this joke.
Right.
And whether or not he knew that Jada Pinkett Smith was dealing with, and am I saying it right? Appalachia?
No, it's oh my gosh. It's Appalachia. Hold on, wait, girl. I had this in my mind. You can cut this part out, right? Alopecia.
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 I don't think he knew. He was just going off of the teleprompter. Right. And lo and behold, Will in the beginning was laughing. And then when he saw his wife's reaction, that's when all of this transcribed or fell out. So what were your initial thoughts about this?
I thought that this was a poke at that slap war show. So I'm going through the timeline, doing the dishes, and then I see, and I said, whoa, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of Chris Rock. And then the clip, Chris Rock says, Will Smith just slapped the shit out of me. and they were laughing. And so I figured, like, oh my God, this has to be a way that, like, this has to be a joke. There's no way that the Oscars is gonna allow this. I felt like this was his Janet Jackson nipple moment. Like,
Mm.
what are you doing, bro? Like, Kanye West, Taylor Swift ain't got nothing. What just happened? So I was completely confused. And then I was like, but I thought that Regina and Amy and Wanda were the hosts. What is Chris Rock doing on the stage if they don't like each other? You know what I mean? Like,
Right, right.
what is going on? So I really thought it was a joke.
My initial reaction was definitely I thought it was a joke that was scripted in.
Right.
But when you watch the video where Will Smith smacks him and then goes back to his seat and is like, keep my wife's mother effing name out your mouth. And then Chris is like, I am and I will. And then he says it a second time, keep my wife's name out of your mother effing. Oh, I was like, oh, whoa. And then you see Lupita in the background with her reaction, her facial expressions, because, you know, we can't keep our expressions when we're shocked.
I just want to know, what kind of champagne are they serving on those red carpets?
Facts,
What's in those green
right?
rooms?
And
What's in the green rooms?
And one of the things I think a lot of people don't know is that all of these like award ceremonies, movie premieres, red carpets, all the things,
Right.
they're like a full day experience.
Totally.
So you go and, for example, because it was Oscar weekend, I did a lot of Oscar coverage.
Mhm.
And the thing is, you go there, you park your car, you pay for a valet, you go in, there's a ton of food, there's a ton of drink, all
Yeah.
the things, right? To loosen you up and to
Back
get you
for
to the
that.
right. And then you're either in front of the camera or behind the camera. If you're a reporter like myself, you're behind the camera. You're asking your questions, all the things, and then the event goes on. But by then, after the red carpet, you're
Mhm.
in the event and everything is free flowing, right? So I'm not making an excuse. I'm just saying that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that we don't see. So we don't know what Will Smith was up to, but I will say this. Before the Oscars premiered,
Right.
he posted a video with him and Jada, and they basically said that they chose violence today. Did you see that video?
Yes, we got dressed up to choose chaos. And they used the word chaos, which I thought was interesting because chaos is like when, when things are out of order, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, did he predestine that things were going to be out of order, or was that like a post like right after they left, is what you said?
Right.
I'm just still like, why would you do that? Like, why would you take it to that length? I felt like yelling from the audience was enough. You know what I mean? Like, you do not expect Will Smith to slap anybody. You know what I mean? He's like the friendly uncle, the cool uncle who helps you not to slap somebody else. But
And here's the thing. He's laughing in the beginning,
right.
right? Thinking it's funny, but then he gets a glimpse at his wife's reaction, and her reaction was like not impressed.
Right.
And one of the things that I think is interesting, which I'm struggling with right now, and we can talk about as we move forward, but violence is never the answer,
At all. Keep your hands
right?
to yourself.
Keep your hands to yourself. But in the same breath, I've been reading a lot about this, and I want to know what your
Right.
take on this is for the past few years, especially during the pandemic, we've been talking about protecting Black women, right? Because Black women are the least protected, they're least appreciated, they're least paid, et cetera, going
Right.
down the list. And
Right.
so, was this Will Smith just protecting his wife, who is a Black woman, and on a national stage getting disrespected by Chris Rock, who is an international comedian superstar? I don't know if it's that, or are we in a era where jokes are not just jokes, right? Like, so he didn't write this joke, but he's a comedian and he's regurgitating the joke that was written by the Oscars and the writers of the Oscars. So, like, where do we stand with that? What are your thoughts?
Listen, I am a bit of a theorist in terms of the conspiracies that happen right in front of our eyes, right? I know that the Oscars is one of the most controlled events, not just as an entertainment event, but the whole city of LA literally like shuts down. Hollywood shuts down
Facts.
for like 3 to 4 weeks ahead of time. I
Facts.
know that Will Smith, I know that Chris Rock, and all of these conglomerates, which are also artistpreneurs, nothing gets nothing happens or transpires without their approval. So basically, your publicist is going to read everything, whether it be the teleprompter responses. They have a lot of power. Chris Rock has hosted the Oscars before and was actually welcomed on multiple occasions. And so I think that for us to just say, somebody else wrote it, it's a little bit tone deaf. Especially him being a black man, understanding, what black women go through when it comes to hair, right? We don't have the same dialogue when it comes to other women who are not women of color. And some African American women and even African women and black women, we have beautiful long hair. Sometimes we like to do different things with our hairs, but it's as a woman, you lose your crown. It psychologically does something to you, right? He did a whole documentary on hair, right? And explored why, he was trying to validate his daughters to have inner beauty and how to appreciate, what they were born with. And so to be a girl dad, I felt like there was a little lack of sensitivity there because, joking about hair, even for men, is something that is sensitive. When men are starting to bald, they don't want people highlighting that, unless there's some of the men who are fortunate enough to shave their heads for a role. It can grow back, but the older you get, your follicles and your body, things just start to change, and although we're evolved from the inside out, right? We are able to look beyond the shell. There's still something inside as a woman that your hair makes you feel beautiful. You know what I
Right.
mean? I just think that
Yes.
he missed the mark as a black man. I mean, he's written episodes of Everybody Hates Chris about the importance of the hair and black women, young women with the hair. So I think that unfortunately we are in a very hypersensitive time in the world. And I think that should have been considered, but you just never know sometimes. And I know for a fact, though, everybody who participated that was going to be a speaker, they most definitely got a glance at what was going to be on that teleprompter.
Facts. And I'll say this, covering the Oscars for, so I've covered the Oscars a couple of times in my
Mhm.
journalistic
Journey.
lifetime. And it's a long process, y'all. Like the process where
Yeah.
you go to the Dolby Theater at least 3 times,
Right.
and they take your picture, they do a background check, they give you your press credentials where you want to like post it on social media because you're like, hey, look, I'm covering. They're
Right.
like, if you absolutely 100% post this anywhere where we find it on social media, you will
Mhm.
have no access and you will be banned, period. Right? So
And blink.
that's it, facts. You can't do any of that. And then going there, it's a full day process where, like, if you're lucky enough to have hair and makeup, you're doing that early in the morning. But you got to get there by like 9, 10, like early in the morning. And then you're hurrying up and waiting. And so, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, is that,
Mhm.
hey, from a journalist perspective, just a journalist,
Right.
okay, you're doing all this. Can you imagine what the celebrities are doing that are the A-list celebrities who are like, hey, listen, we have all this information. And like you said, we know
Right.
that this is going to happen. This is going to happen. There's
Mhm.
red carpet. But in addition to red carpet, there's press rooms. So
Right.
everyone who gets an award, after they get their award, if you don't know how it works with the ceremonies, is that there's a press room, and the
Right.
press room is filled with international press
Right.
and from all over the world. and there's question after question after question after question. So they stand there with their Oscars and they answer the questions that the world wants to know.
Exactly.
And after that, then they're shuttled out to the next situation, which is all the after parties where, again, you're walking a red carpet, and
Right.
as a winner or a loser or attendee, then you are still asked the same questions. So it's an
Hmm.
all day process, right? So here we
Right.
are. And what I wanted to talk to you about is the fact that here we are saying, okay, we see Will Smith, we see
Hmm.
Chris Rock, who are equal black entertainers that are on an international level, right?
Right.
And then
Period.
we see Will Smith react on the Oscars, who, for the past few years, hashtag
Hmm.
Oscars too white. And now we have two black men
Right.
creating the biggest scandal in the 94 years that the Oscars have been broadcast. What are your thoughts on that?
Why it always gotta be us though? Dang, I was rooting for us. No, I'm just kidding. I just, we're human, right? Let me be a little PC, but a little ratchet at the same time. Sometimes a motherfucker just needs to be slapped.
You think?
You just need to test my gangster sometimes. Like I can
Okay.
understand that. I can
So do you
understand.
think that's what was happening? You think Will was like, listen, I'm protecting my wife.
I
I ain't down with this shit. This shit is messed up.
No,
And
that's not what I think. I told you
okay.
I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that there's something deeper there, right? Like you ever go into a room with someone that it's like you're friendly enemies, and in their mind you're like this motherfucker or this bitch, but you still have to work with them. So
Yeah.
it's almost as if you've had enough circumstances where they've put you in a position and you're just like, oh no, not today. And you feeling your swag and all that champagne circulating through the bloodline, you know what I'm saying? And you like, listen, I can make this mistake and never work again if I didn't want to.
Right.
I can make that choice because of where the world is. There's always going to be people who vibe with you. Everybody has everybody has their niche. But if
So,
I'm going to be PC, like I started out to say, I think that it was irresponsible of him
of
as
who? Of who?
I think it was irresponsible of Will Smith to lose his cool, right? I was watching this movie very recently, and this one line in the movie stood out to me, and it was the most gangster line ever. The dude said, I'm going to need you to take care of this because I don't have the luxuries that you have of making a mistake. Think about that. And he was a board executive, but he was also higher up, like a decision maker, where he knew he had the power to retaliate, rightfully so. However, it would not have been the best move coming from him. So Will Smith, as a businessman, as a leader, you messed up. You made a bad choice, and we still love you and we still forgive you because we understand why you did what you did. But you're going to have the consequences because it's like being the older sibling. If your baby brother makes a mistake, but you react, I'm sorry, if your baby brother makes a mistake or your baby sister makes a mistake, you're still responsible for that outcome, period. Right? If you know better, you do better. That's what I'm like, what was they drinking and smoking before they got to the carpet? Because clearly, like something, he just lost all cools, and then he had to get up on stage and give a humiliation speech where he apologized to his fellow actors and didn't even address Chris Rock. So he didn't even say, I'm sorry for slapping Chris. He said, I'm sorry that you had to see that. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like,
And
what's the
so,
thing?
and that's what I want to talk about. I want to get into the nitty gritty because part of the debate that we're seeing, and you and I talked about this last night actually, and
Mhm.
we're continuing the conversation today. But part of what we're seeing is the fact that we talked about the Oscars so white hashtag. And
Right.
then this year, where we're seeing more diversity, we're seeing
Mhm.
where Will Packer was the producer of this. and
Right.
he had all the diversity, right? So you had three women hosting the show, two of them being black, one of
Right.
them being like a super funny comedian. Well, they're all funny comedians in
Right.
that. And then you see the diversity of the people that were invited. So from the Beyoncés to the Jay-Z's to
Ooh, Ivy was on that stage performing with her mama. She
that's it.
she
That's
saw it's like you slapping people in front of Blue.
and that's it, right? So Liza Minnelli, you had all of these people,
Ooh,
generations. So you have the young people watching, you have the older people watching, and then this situation is the situation that everyone is talking about, including
right.
us. And so I want you to look at this photo that you're seeing on your screen right now, where Chris and my question is this: so you see Chris clearly reacting to the slap, but
Mm-hmm.
also not reacting because he kept the broadcast rolling. What were
Right.
your thoughts on that?
I think he was partially shocked. Like, did this like did Will Smith really just smack me? And I think like part of being a comedian though is he's a sharp man. I've worked with Chris Rock. I worked with Chris Rock on Death at a Funeral. And I got to converse with him. I got to see how he conversed with other people. And he's a very funny man, right? Non-offensive. I was not offended not once, right? But you can tell that he was so caught off guard, but he was sharp enough to be like, watching you. Cameras is rolling. Like, what side of yourself do you want to show in front of all of these people? And he also has daughters that were watching the show, I'm pretty sure. So it's like, ooh, he thought quick in that moment and he made the right decision. But I also feel like if we would have had like a split of a hair of more time, I wonder how he would have reacted. But I guess we know how he would have reacted. He was Jay-Z in the elevator.
Facts. He was Jay-Z in the elevator, which, that's a
No,
whole
no.
other conversation.
I'm trying not to make a joke out of this. I know it's a serious matter, but there's just so much like I want to call bullshit. I'm like, come on, stop playing with me. But when you have, the big wigs, addressing it, I know it's serious. So I think he was thinking like, did this really just happen? And then his brain was like, yep. And look at all these people. Yep. And there's millions of people watching. Yep. And what, like, don't you want to go on tour soon, man? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
You
I
can
do.
label
I
this. You
do. So
can
what do you think what implications do you think this has on the Black community?
I think it just makes us look ugly. I don't think that it demoralizes us as a community because you can't judge the actions of one person and assign that to a people, right? But people do it. But I think most of us in the Black community, we are used to making bad choices and not receiving forgiveness. So it's hard for us to go to that place of, okay, let's really break down what's happening. The man was emotionally charged. You're talking about his wife. She's already expressed how she felt about it. I think he was triggered, and because of the energy of the night, like Denzel told him, the devil comes right there when you're at the highest. And sometimes God will humble you. And I think that we should not look to him to be our savior. That's why I'm like, we didn't expect it to come from him. But realistically, it's kind of like you don't expect your boyfriend to hit you once you hit him, but you ain't supposed to be hitting nobody. Just because you're a woman doesn't mean, or like you don't know these days, male or female, you don't know what people are going through. So you got to be ready to back up what you're going to say. And then you also have to be ready to reap those consequences when you make that bad choice, because he could have got arrested and now he's facing, his career being taken down. But I don't think it's going to affect us as a community, because if we're honest, Will Smith's his star is fizzling out. Come on, when's the last time we really were concerned about a Will Smith film? That's why we have the controversy of the Oscars so white, is because he did not get nominated when he played the football player, right? Every Black man that has won an Oscar has played a demoralized man. The one time he plays a man, an honorable father, he ends up slapping another Black father with two daughters. on national TV. Think about that, people.
So my take on this is I think it's a bad look. I think that
Um,
Will Smith, so like I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted, Choose New Day,
I'm gonna
because
like him.
on the
I'm
one hand, I
gonna
feel like it's a bad look. We've been fighting for diversity, equality, especially with the Oscars, where they don't necessarily
Mhm.
honor and give accolades to diverse movies unless it's like, and I talked about it this weekend, unless it's like, oh, we're doing some slave movie, the slave movie gets all the Oscar nominations. And why is that? Because
Can I get Kim
It's
Kardashian?
American history, and me being an immigrant and not having that same history, I'm just looking at it like, wow, so we're really still talking about racism, we're really still talking about the lack of opportunity for black and brown people and Asian people in
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood, right? So
Color.
then we finally have a moment where a black person is getting an Oscar. And if we think about the Oscars, Halle Berry, and I don't know, it was like the 1990 something, is the only black woman that has received an Oscar to present day. And so we finally have a black man
Well,
who's getting
Monique won Best Actress. So Monique
a
and Halle Berry.
supporting actress, though,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm wrong.
right? So I'm talking about best actor, best actor, actress.
Right, right.
So Halle Berry still is the only black woman that has gotten the best Oscar. Yes, Monique has gotten the best supporting actor role.
But that's just awful.
And then now we're talking about best actor.
Right.
And we have Will Smith, who this slap controversy is overshadowing the fact that, hey, you know what? People of color make huge contributions in Hollywood, and now it's like all fucked up. I'm sorry, it's all fucked up.
And
I
it's
feel
sad though that it has to be that way. Like, why can't we make mistakes? So if it was a white person who went on stage and did something that was like inappropriate or unexpected or unsuspecting, we wouldn't put as much emphasis on this being an example to our community. No other white person is like, how dare you do this, Harvey Weinstein? You make all of us look bad. You know what I mean? Like, no, nobody's saying that. I think that I want to be Kim Kardashian for a minute and say, you know what, black people, we need to just make our own Oscar show. Then we get the option to not celebrate things that don't mean anything to our culture and not support things that are going to bring down our culture. So I think we need to put our money where our mouth is and stop looking for people to let us in. Let us in. Can we play with you? When I was a kid, my mother used to tell me, kids will come upstairs crying, saying, she won't play with me. And my mother said, why you want to play with her then? She's mean. Leave her alone. Don't play with her. She doesn't deserve friends. Well, Hollywood, you don't deserve our black, beautiful talent. You don't deserve our ancestors' energy that flows to tell the stories that inspire the next generations of actors. So if we want to really see something transpire, we need to do better, period. And like you said, don't be on the Oscars on national TV slapping people.
that's it, because I think that part of the issue is that so many people are offended, and they're offended because not
Rightfully
only
so.
did he slap Chris Rock, but his apology was an apology to the Academy and not to Chris Rock specifically, right? And
Right.
again, I'm still struggling with the fact that we're talking about protecting Black women
Right.
in addition to, hey, you know what, we're on an international level, this is the Oscars, and minorities and black and brown people and Asian people, I continue to say, are not fully represented
Right.
all the time. And here we are, where what are we talking about? We're talking about the slap. The slap is the thing that people are going to be talking about for the rest of the year.
What does protecting Black women look like? I think that's the real question that I would want to know. So if he wasn't supposed to go on stage and slap someone for offending his wife, what was he supposed to do? You know what I mean? Like, what does
listen, in my opinion, he could have handled this totally differently. I
Of
think
course he can have
that,
Will Smith.
yeah, but okay, Tanisha, like if we're gonna get into the really nitty gritty, which we did last night, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So on the one hand, okay, so what was he supposed to do? Protect his wife and stand up for his wife. But at the same time, if you're living a messy fucking lifestyle in Hollywood where you say you have an open marriage, and what people don't know because they don't know, because they don't live in the city and they're not invited to the parties, where you're like, oh, we have an open relationship and we're going to have all of these, and excuse me for saying this, but alleged sex parties where you're swapping partners, all the things, you're being super messy. Plus, we have Red Table Talk where Jada specifically talks about being in entanglements with other people while she's married. Like, you can't have all the messiness happening in Hollywood and people keeping your secrets for year after year after year after year. And then finally, after all of these years, 10, 15 years, one of you is up for an Oscar, where the Oscars is, super conservative. And I'm not condoning that it's super conservative, but I'm saying that it's the Oscars. So we all know what to expect. And then have a messy situation at the Oscars. Like, you can't control yourself. It's a joke that Chris Rock didn't write himself. It was written by whoever was writing for the Oscars.
Right.
We don't know whether or not Chris knew that Jada was suffering from this disorder because she came out on her Red Table Talk on Facebook, and we don't know if he watches that. We don't know if the writers said, hey, listen, heads up, FYI, this is what's going on. All he knew was that he had a teleprompter in front of him. He's reading the teleprompter, reading the jokes. That's it. That's all.
I'm not buying it.
Pardon?
I'm not buying that.
You're not buying which part?
He knew what he was going to say, and he wasn't offended by it, and probably thought like, yo, this is going to be funny, because she, in his mind, she did look like G.I. Jane, which was Demi Moore back in the 90s, right? So I know that Chris Rock is too smart for people to think he's that dumb to just shut up and read the script, boy. I am not.
Fair. And that's a debate that we're going to have. So, guys, let us know if you thought Chris Rock knew in the comments when you're watching the replay, or let us know if you thought he didn't know and he was just reading off the teleprompter. Regardless, we got to the situation where allegedly Will had enough. He had enough with people disrespecting his wife, disrespecting their relationship, and all the things. But again, the relationship has been in question for many, many, many years. So I want to get to some of the celebrity feedback. So what you see on your screen right now is Drake, who is my faux baby daddy. And he posted this yesterday on his Instagram. And, I don't even need to say anything. What are your thoughts on this first celebrity reaction?
It's like, well. like, oh, I didn't know you had it in you.
My reaction is, oh, Drake, you're so messy. All right, let's go on to the next reaction. This reaction is from Tiffany Haddish. Yeah, I say it wrong all the time. That's probably why she won't interview with me.
But you know what?
I say it wrong all the time. I've met her a few times and I've tried to get her over on the red carpet. And I think it's probably because I say her name wrong. My bad. So her comment is, when I saw a Black man stand up for his wife, that meant so much to me. Haddish told People magazine via EW, Entertainment Weekly, after the Oscars. Quote, as a woman who has been unprotected, for someone to say, like, quote, keep my wife's name out your mouth, leave my wife alone, unquote. That's what your husband is supposed to do, right? Question mark. Protect you. And that meant the world to me. And maybe the world might not like how it went down, but for me, it was the most beautiful thing I ever seen because it made me believe that there are still men out there that love and care about their women, their wives. And that's their friend, Haddish,
Right.
added of rock. Quote, as a friend, why would you do that? We didn't even run the joke by her, but she was hurt though. If she wouldn't have been hurt, he probably wouldn't have said nothing. But you could see he was clearly, and then it gets all weird, dot, 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 and they exploited it. They
Right.
exploited her, so dot, 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 in real life, dot, 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 you don't see what's happening here. You protected you protected his wife. To me, I went up to her and said, quote, you better suck his d from the back, girl, unquote. You better put that in your magazine. That's what I told her. What are your thoughts on that first reaction?
I agree with Tiffany in a sense of, wow, it is beautiful to see a black man put everything on the line and say, I'm doing this for you because I love you. And I think, like you said, they really, I think they've been teasing her for a long time. And then for her to keep going through this, and we all try to be strong and act like social media comments don't bother us. But if you get enough of that hate, you don't know what he's seeing behind closed doors. So I do understand. And like I said, like Tiffany said, I agree with her. If you're her friend and you know the joke is hurtful, then you should have just chose a different joke or a different way to tell it. Be like, oh no, you want me to say this G.I. Jane joke? I ain't doing that. He could have flipped it, he could have, but he didn't. But I agree with Tiffany. It is beautiful to see a man stick up for his woman. And it takes me back to the thought process of, what does that look like? I guess in that setting, it definitely doesn't look like smacking a person, but who's to say, they did exploit her. And I feel like in their relationship, spiritually, that needed to happen. We saw it as him falling, but the spiritual realm, the black community needed to see that. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, we can't put too much weight, but then there's a lot of dynamics in there that we can draw from. So I agree with Tiffany wholeheartedly. I think things could have been a little bit different.
I'm still on the fence. I'm still on the fence because on the one hand, we're saying protect black women, right? But do you protect what black women at what cost? Do you keep your hands to
That's what he
yourself or do you lay hands?
I say, people want to fight, but they don't come outside. They need to come outside, but they don't come outside. No, family, come outside and come catch these hands. Like, no, that's what I when I see the meme of, of him smacking him, and then he had to pose.
Listen, here they already chose chaos before they got there, you
That's
know?
what I'm saying. It's a ritual. I think it's a humiliation ritual. But maybe it's not. Maybe it was a very real moment.
All right, let's talk about Little Nas X. He says, y'all sitting here laughing, but imagine if Will Smith was an average kid that no one understands. Mom and dad and Vicky always giving him commands. Bed, twerp, doom, and gloom up in his room is broken instantly by his magic little fish who grant his every wish because in reality, then he goes dot dot dot. And then he goes on to say, just a reminder that if Will Smith had built a time machine and went back in time and slapped Harriet Tubman as a baby for a joke she made, and then quote, however insensitive, she easily would have fallen backward, cracked her skull, and never freed slaves. Violence is never, in all caps, okay.
And there you have it. I mean, it's true. We need to really keep our hands to ourselves unless it's a life or death situation when you have to defend yourself that way, you know? And no one knows what was going through his mind, right? This spontaneous event. Little Nas X, I hate to say this, but I agree with you, buddy. Violence is never okay. It's not. Black, white, otherwise, it's not okay. You go to jail, and he's lucky he didn't get arrested on the spot. How many rappers have had concerts and got arrested on stage and taken off the stage? That could have happened to you, Will.
I don't know. I don't know what to say about this. I'm
So
again.
you already know what to say. It's like
I
a limbo
don't.
conversation.
Listen, I
It's a
don't know what to
50-50
say.
divide. A 50-50 divide. But you know what I did hear is that the alopecia organizations seen an increase in donations last night.
Which I think is a beautiful thing. But do you think that Will Smith was thinking about the alopecia organizations when he went to slap Chris?
I think in his mind, he's like, everybody knows that Jada has had short hair for majority of her career, right? But this is the one time she actually is bald. And she has told people the past few years that she's been losing her hair. So I think that he knew the joke was hateful, like Tiffany said.
Okay, so Offset says Will Smith, the greatest to do it. I feel you will smack the shit out one you I N word about my wife on national TV. So basically, he's saying like, you know what? Will Smith did the right thing. Families, wives, children are off limits. What are your thoughts on that?
Street code. That's why I said sometimes you gotta slap a motherfucker. Sometimes you got to, because code switching, right? Different places, different stages, different ways of handling things when you're in those places. So it's like he's saying, like, don't test my gangster. You never know. Like, that's what I'm saying. Offset's like, yo, I respect him because where he comes from, a man does anything to protect his family. You know what I'm saying? And so Will Smith grew up watching his mother verbally and physically abused, you know, and he's fought very hard for his 20-year marriage. So Offset's like, yo, I feel you, homie. I would have did the same thing.
Okay. Aunt Viv, the original Aunt Viv,
I want to know what she had to say. Ooh, girl.
according to the Jasmine brand, she went to her Instagram and said, "So proud of you, all caps. Yes, there's only so much one can take, dot, dot, dot. Sometimes you have to slap back. Celebrate the win, dot, dot, dot. Nothing else matters. Both actions were incorrect, but Chris didn't need to go there. Met him once, dot, dot, dot. It was enough for me, dot, dot, dot. Very mean spirited. Hashtag King Richard for the win." Thoughts?
She just said what I said. Sometimes, sometimes you got to stand. You got to, but man, we just live in a world where everything is captured. Think about the times where like paparazzi, none of this mattered. Bitches was getting slapped up backstage, probably like before they went to present. But because we have social media, it's a thing. Nah, I'm just kidding. Like I said, I still stand on violence is never the answer. I agree with her. Both actions were wrong, but we can empathize with why he made the choice that he made.
Okay, so why was Chris wrong?
No. I'm talking about Will was wrong. I believe Will was wrong for killing his career on TV like that. R.I.P. Just killed you. To say R.I.P. No, I just think that he was wrong because it's on national TV. Like, oh, it just so happens he's so blessed that he can, like, he's so blessed that he could have afforded that mistake, and he still can. If he never gets one project after today, He's rich for life. For life. Most people don't do what they feel like doing or don't say what they feel like saying because there's some type of a repercussion that they don't want to bounce back from or can't bounce back from. And I guess he said, today I got time, cuz. Today I got time. Shout out to Lovely T. Sorry. I'm just saying, like, I'm just kind of like, I think she's right. Both actions were wrong, but we understand there's a win for King Richard in there. They can't. It's just sad that a black man can't win an award without any controversy. Denzel won an award for being a corrupt cop.
But so this is what I'm saying. So can we not have a black man win a major international award without controversy? Because I think that
You're in the right neighborhood, honey. I think you're in the right neighborhood. Like I said, drive down the street a little bit more, make a left before going to the right, because that's exactly what it is. Like, he that makes the goal makes the rules. It's their organization, and it's always going to go back to, we have standards, and that's not how we do it here at the Oscars. So when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and he definitely disrespected the way that they do things. You know what I mean?
I think that Will Smith could have handled this totally differently. And I'm disappointed that this is what we're remembering from Oscars 2022. I think that in no situation do you put your hands on other people, and whether you're being disrespected year after year after year, whether people are making jokes about you year after year after year, whether people don't respect your relationship year after year after year, it doesn't give you the right to put hands on somebody,
right?
Ever. And so that's where I'm struggling with, because I'm struggling with that component versus protecting your woman, protecting your wife, protecting black women, all the things. I'm struggling with that. And so I'm not sure how I feel quite yet, but I do know that being at the Oscars, hashtag Oscars so white for the past few years, and then you have a black producer, a black director, two black hosts, and a bunch of black performers. And what do we remember? We remember Will Smith smacking Chris Rock. And so I'm still trying to process it all, because I think that it's unfortunate, because guess who's offended?
Who?
Hollywood. And guess who runs Hollywood?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And they're offended. And we'll talk about it shortly. Let me read what. So Diddy went to. So on air at the Oscars, he's like, okay, let's squash this. Let's move on. It's all good. And then at the Golden Black Party that was hosted by Beyonce and Jay-Z, he went ahead and said to a reporter, Diddy says, I can confirm Will Smith and Chris Rock settled the feud after shocking Oscar slap. It's all love. They're brothers. What is your take on this?
Sips tea. My take is that, like I said, I think it was a planned ritual for those people who know about that life. You know what I mean? When you're being elevated to that level, that's a huge level. So you're gonna have to, you know what I mean? Gonna have to do some things to maintain your relevancy. And what we don't see is, how the roles are starting to become far and few in between. And Will has found other ways to make his money. So I think that, like they said, you know what, at the end of the day, it's all love. But nobody really knows, you know what I'm saying? Like, nobody really knows until Chris Rock speaks about it. And Will Smith just wrote Chris Rock's next comedy special.
So, although the tabloids are saying that they made up at the party, Radar Online is saying Chris Rock left shaken after Will Smith slap. Didn't know Jada Pinkett Smith suffers from
alopecia.
So the caption reads, Hashtag Will Smith and hashtag Chris Rock have not made up, despite an earlier report from Diddy. A source revealed the men haven't spoken since Will slapped Chris on live television Sunday night at the Oscars. So, my take on that is, Diddy was trying to like make it all copacetic, everything's great,
You can't
we're
trust
all
nothing that Diddy
family, we're all good. But reality is they're not all good. And we haven't
said.
heard from Chris Rock on any of his social medias. And we haven't heard that he actually is okay with everything that happened. And my it's so interesting to me because everyone's very quick to come to Will's defense and to support
Right.
him and to console him.
That was
And
crazy.
you had like the biggest A-list celebrities coming to his defense: the Bradley Coopers, the Denzel Washingtons, and
Girl.
Tyler Perry's consoling him. You had Will Smith's agent and manager coming to console the situation, even before he had won his Oscar for Best Actor. And I was like, well, who's coming to Chris's defense? Because Chris
Right.
came to do a job. He read what was pre-scripted for him, and now he's the bad person. Like, what can we talk about? What can we say about that? And who's checking on Chris? Because at the end of the day, even in elementary school, you're supposed to keep your hands to yourself. Keep your friggin' hands to yourself. Period.
Period.
So that's the part I'm struggling with, and I keep saying I'm struggling with it because
Right.
She's New Day, like,
You're right. No, it's like
people
I
aren't
thought about that.
seeing the levels and the layers of this. All they're seeing is, hey, a few years ago we talked about Oscar so white. We finally have some diversity, and this happened in 2022, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. My whole social media
It's not.
timeline is flooded with all things Chris Rock and Will Smith.
It's like when your uncles get into a fight at the family cookout and nobody knows what happened. And so they just say, oh, they was drunk.
Facts. 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 So
I
let's move
don't
on.
laugh at the situation, but it tickles me because it's like it's Will Smith. I think I have to agree with Drake. Drake was my favorite one so far with this post. It was very accurate. Like, the genie just slapped a bitch. Like,
Facts. Facts.
no, but really, I'm mad too that they're not showing Chris Rock's. Like, they're not coming to his defense. And people are like, well, he shouldn't have said that. Well, I could sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me, right? So you got mad at something I said. I just think that everything that we learned as a kid just got debunked.
Yeah. Yeah. I again, I'm still conflicted. So let's talk about the next thing we learned, where Will Smith's Academy membership may reportedly be suspended, but his Oscar will not be revoked. So there's a lot of talk today about what happened, how the Academy responded, and what next steps should be taken. What do you think next steps should be for Will Smith?
Call Olivia Pope.
Stop it.
She needs to get down to the bottom of this.
Stop it. Olivia Pope.
Right. What if they made
Listen.
Black people can
Olivia Pope
an
comes
Oscar?
in because there's some type of crisis and
That's
crisis
what I'm saying.
management.
No, how many episodes have you and I personally watched on in bottles of wine where like this national event happens, right? And they have the nemesises and it's like WWF. And then at the end of the night, they're all sitting behind on a round table playing poker, drinking, and like, okay, so you play this role, you play that role, and boom, it's called the Hegelian dialect, right? I think it's all the sham. The gig is up in a few days. People getting like, okay, bro. Because his face, like, who gets smacked and goes, like, I don't know.
listen. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still
Give
uncomfortable
me
with all of
internet.
this.
I'm gonna
Let's
cut.
talk about what the news is reporting. So, Will Smith hits Chris Rock on stage, then wins an Oscar for Best Actor. And the Academy condemns the actions of Mr. Smith at last night's show. The statement said, "We have officially started a formal review around the incident and will explore further action and consequences in accordance with our bylaws, standards of conduct, and California law."
That's
It
good.
goes on to say
It's a business.
that the
Okay.
Academy leadership strongly considered removing Will Smith from last night's broadcast following the incident.
Whoa.
There were immediate discussions, but the Academy decision makers were seated in various spots in the Dolby Theater, which you guys, if you don't know, is in Hollywood, and couldn't mobilize to make a decision before he won Best Actor, the source said. Smith apologized to the Academy and his fellow nominees during his Best Actor acceptance speech. It goes on to say, following the ceremony, the Academy Awards tweeted a short statement about the onstage incident that read, quote, "The Academy does not condone violence of any form. Tonight we are delighted to celebrate our 94th Academy Award winners who deserve this moment of recognition from their peers and lovers around the world." It goes on to say at least a dozen members of the Academy of Motion Pictures and Arts and Sciences, the organization behind the Oscars, met virtually on Monday, today,
Mm,
morning, to discuss a response to Smith slapping Rock,
mm,
according to two sources with knowledge of the meeting. The meeting was described as, quote, heated and, quote, divided. There was no agreement on further action, according to the sources. And it goes on, the dozen members who met on their own volition and are being described as influential and recognizable members of the Academy, including actors and directors. The group does not have any disciplinary power, but they are considered high profile enough that the Board of Governors for the Academy could be influenced in any response they have. What are your thoughts on that?
my thought is, you done fucked up, right?
How's that?
No, to Will Smith. Like, when you think,
Oh,
it's like, you done fucked up, right? Like, you made a horrible choice. That was my first thought. Like, when you have to force people who are decision makers to make uncomfortable choices that grown people who are in that position should know to do, and it's never good for anyone. And it's bad for business, right? Because winning an Academy Award, someone like Will Smith, having a lot of allegiances, that was going to reintroduce him to this generation. It was going to create him to be an icon. We lost Sidney Poitier, who was one of the first Black men to ever, get an Academy Award for a dramatic role. And at the time, it was something special because he didn't play a slave or anything like that. So here we are. We have this man, Will Smith. He's playing an honorable man for the most part, a Black father trying to build a future for his daughters, and you take this moment and you ruin it because every year we have to hear about, you're tired of seeing you people as slaves, you're tired of seeing your people as this, but then you show your real life character is not worthy of what you're playing. You're showing that you're not worthy of the position to walk the path. But he is worthy, right? He did the work and all that. But I'm just saying, this is what the decision makers are thinking. Listen, this is bad for business. Period. And I don't want to hear I don't want to hear nothing about no Oscars white, no Oscars this. I don't want to hear it. At this point, is can the Oscars be peaceful? Like, people want to feel safe. We just been stuck in our house for 2 years. You know what I mean? And they've had to like make this happen. It's like, we're doing all this for you people. And it also makes them a lot of money. So it's like, Will, you're messing with ratings, which messes with sponsors, which means this show doesn't go on because actors aren't paying to get their own awards. They're paying for their stars on Hollywood Boulevard, but they ain't paying for that award show. So it's like, you all want to be honored, you better get some act right in your system.
Here's my final take. I think that what I watched yesterday was unacceptable.
Completely.
I think that because people are so quick to get the soundbite and so quick to get
A reaction.
the meme and the reaction, that it makes people of color all across the board look bad. Brown, black, Asian, all the things. In the past few years,
Right.
with Black Lives Matters and support Black women and protect Black women and
Right.
protect brown women and all of the things that have been happening, things that have been happening. Like, even I thought about last night
Hmm.
the fact that, hey, we're turning back all of these Haitians and whipping them on horses, but again, there's a war going on in Ukraine and we're opening our arms and all of that to refugees. I think that there's an imbalance in America,
Yes.
and unfortunately and y'all don't come for me because I'm Canadian, I'm an immigrant, and I'm just seeing what I'm seeing. So don't come for me in the comments, don't come for me in the DMs. I'm just giving you my opinion. And my opinion is that if you're not Euro, if you're not I'll say that if you're not Euro, then there's some issues. And it's not as easy for you to live in the land of the free and the opportunities and all of the things because they don't want all that stuff. And if we want to take it back to, you know, 4 years ago, where they're talking about building walls and keeping out specific type of people, and we're making a specific country build a wall that they never agreed to build. All of that screams racism. And I understand this America, this country, America, was built on racism. And unfortunately,
Honey.
hundreds of years later, things aren't that different. And so, oh, we have the theater, we have movies, we have Hollywood that we're screaming we want diversity. We want to see on the screen what we see in real life. And what we
Right.
see in real life is a cornucopia of different types of people that are making the land and the free great.
Right.
However, that's not translated necessarily all the time on TV. And
At all.
so when I watch the Oscars, and I stopped, and I'll be honest, I stopped watching for a long time because why is it always the slave movies that are winning Oscars? I mean, besides the foreign movies, it's all the slave movies. And then finally, we're coming to the point where you have some diversity in movies. You have diversity in women directors and producers who are making crazy, amazing films. Then you have Black and brown and Asians making crazy American or crazy films
Mhm.
and being honored in America. And then you flip to 2022, where everyone's been home for 2.5 years through a pandemic. We finally
Yeah.
have, like, hey, you know what? We have a producer of the Oscars who is of color. We have two of the three women of color and three women hosting the show. And then
Fact.
we have a bunch of people that are diverse, that are talent on the show, and yet here we are. And the moment that we are talking about is when one black man puts his hands on another black man, both very successful in Hollywood, and everyone is outraged. And everyone is outraged because, you know what, you should keep your hands to yourself.
Right.
But the divergent narrative is, we've talked about for the last few years protecting black women. So what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to protect black women? And what does that look like when you're protecting black women as a black man, as a married man for 15 to 20 plus years, right? Despite the rumors, what are you supposed to do? So it's it's hard for me to understand what my opinion is, but I will tell you this, I was disappointed because I know that the easiest thing to do is run with the narrative and to run with, I'm offended and he shouldn't have done that. and it's disgusting and all the things, which I
Right.
agree with because violence is never the answer. I am a firm believer of, in keeping your hands to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the language that Will used after multiple times was unnecessary. And I think that it made him look cheap, even though he has, you know, decades in the entertainment industry in Hollywood.
Hmm.
And we talked about, rest in peace in your career. We talked about what the Academy may or may not do according to his win. Are they going to suspend him from being in the Academy? They're going to take the award back. We don't know. But at the end of the day, everyone loses. He loses. Jada loses. Loses. His all the families lose. We all lose in the fight for diversity,
Mm-hmm.
the
Right.
fight for green lighting more opportunities for
Right.
all of the minorities that are trying to tell a story. And I got to tell you, I'm going to tell you something.
Yeah.
She is Nide.
Mm-hmm.
In high school, I took this acting class at Killarney. I took this acting class, and my acting teacher hated me. She hated me. I was the only black person in the class. She freaking hated me. She talked shit about me. And she gave me the worst grade that I ever had in my entire life. And I was like an A+ student. I represented my whole entire province abroad in Japan, all the
Yes.
things. But there was this
Oh,
one teacher
arigato,
that
boo.
there was this one teacher who's like, this black girl she cannot be doing all these things. So let me tell her that she cannot act, she cannot
Mm.
tell stories, all the things. And lo and behold, 20 plus years later, no, 20 years later, 20,
Hmm.
yeah, 20 years later, I'm telling stories. And what I'll say is this:
Yeah.
it's imperative that you've got stories from all across the board.
Correct.
And she told me that there are only 7 plots and
Hmm.
7 stories that are told over and over again, right? And I can
Right.
break it down like girl meets boy, boy meets girl, um love and hate, all the things. She broke it down, right? And I can totally break it down, but that's not the point of what I'm saying. What
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying is that we're in 2022 and there are so many stories to be told. And guess
Yeah.
what? We live in a world that is so diverse that one person's perspective
Mm-hmm.
cannot be the only perspective.
It's not anymore. People are
And
talking about
so it's important to me that
right.
we don't get stuck on, hey, this minority did this to this minority, because if we
That.
want to be real, she is New Day, if we want to be real, and take it back to history and the history of story making,
Mm-hmm.
we can talk about how the Weinsteins
Go
got
on.
Oscars
Go
and now
on.
he's in prison.
Go
We
on with that stuff.
we can talk about how there are celebrities that talked about,
Mm.
previous wars. We can talk about how specific people talked about
Right.
the Jews. We can go on and on and on, and we celebrated them and we allowed them to continue their Oscars. But
Right.
then Will Smith smacks another black man who is high in Hollywood, and all of a sudden, this is the most outrageous, most talked about Oscars ever in the 94 years that we've had Oscars. So my whole thing is that, like, let's talk about violence. Let's talk about what's right and wrong. Let's talk
Mhm.
about what's celebrated and then come back to this. Am I saying what happened was right? Absolutely not. Keep
No,
your hands to yourself. But if we're going to be outraged, let's be outraged about a lot of other things.
right. That's why I said humiliation ritual. And if it was real life, it is definitely art imitating life flipped around. Remember Jersey Girl, the movie? Will Smith played, himself. Ben Affleck played the publicist that was supposed to be supporting this Fresh Prince of Bel-Air thing that was coming out, and he made a like disparaging comment about Will Smith at a press conference after his wife had died, and he had his baby, and he ruined his career at that moment, right? And so the little girl turns like 7 or 8, and Will Smith is in a lobby where Ben Affleck's trying to go get a job again, and he's like, you messed up. I ended up becoming a great success and everything. And the guy's like, yeah, I made it. I made a mistake. I'm now known as that guy who talked trash about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Well, now he's now the Fresh Prince. He's now known as the Fresh Black. I'm sorry, he is now known as the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, slapping people. Like, art has imitated life, Will, and I hope that you can bounce back from this. I really do.
That part. I hope that we can get past this. I hope that we can understand that there were a lot of moments to celebrate in the Oscars. We had our first deaf actor receive
Yes.
an Oscar,
Yes.
um, which was like incredible. Questlove
Yes.
received an
I was thinking
Oscar.
about that one. Oh, I was so happy.
So there are a lot of moments that are important, in my opinion, that happened in the 2022 Oscars that
Right.
are being foreshadowed by the slap, right? The infamous slap. And I hope that we don't forget that those moments are just as important, because as we try to move forward in equality and diversity and
Hmm.
representation
Right.
in the biggest industry in the world, it's important to remember our wins as well.
That's true.
That's it.
Celebrations.
That's it. I appreciate you. Thank you,
Thank
She's New
you.
Day. Where can people find you on social media?
They can find me at She Is New Day, and it's spelled Nudai. So sheisnewday.com or She Is New Day on Instagram.
And when can we expect new music from you?
I have a single coming out on April the 20th, which is the fourth year anniversary of my very first official published EP, Get It Done. So I have a new project coming out and a music video being debuted for my single Maybe. So yeah, I'm getting my feet wet back into, being an artist instead of being behind the pen. So stay tuned for some cool things.
I love it. And guys, if you are one of the Melanated Way Patreon subscribers, we have a bunch of new exclusive videos up on Patreon that I want you to check out. A couple interviews that I think that you would be very interested in seeing. And I'll see you all later with a 90 Day Fiance before the 90 days live coverage. Make sure that you subscribe to this channel, you tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. And on the bottom of the screen, you can see where you can support the show and support the show, you guys. I mean, if you want more of these, support the show. Thank
Indeed.
you guys. We'll see you next time. And this was lovely discussing the slap.